in the heart of Igboland, where red earth paths wound between tall, swaying palm trees. There flowed a river named Miri Yugo, the Eagle's Water. Its surface shone like polished glass, clear and gentle, but it held a deep secret. Beneath its shimmering currents, the villagers believed lived a powerful river goddess. This belief shaped their lives. No one dared to fetch water after the sun had dipped below the horizon. No one raised their voice near its banks. And no one, not ever, would cross its sacred waters without first showing profound respect. In this village lived a young girl named Adaze. She wasn't the strongest child, nor was she the loudest, but what she possessed was a heart full of courage and a spirit overflowing with kindness. Adaze was her mother's shadow at the stream during the bright hours of the day. As she filled her clay pot, she would whisper prayers of gratitude into the gentle breeze, just as the elders had taught her. She respected the river, and the river, in turn, provided for her and her people. Then came a dry season unlike any other. The sun beat down relentlessly, and the once mighty Miri Yugo began to shrink. Its lifeblood seemed to evaporate into the hazy sky. The fish, once plentiful, vanished from its shallow depths. In the fields, the yams and cassava began to wilt, their leaves turning a sickly yellow. A heavy silence fell over the village, punctuated only by the anxious murmurs of the elders. They gathered beneath the shade of the great Nukwa Akwa, the giant breadfruit tree that had witnessed generations come and go. Their faces were etched with worry. "The river goddess is angry," one elder declared, his voice a low rumble. He shook his head slowly, his gaze fixed on the distant, shrinking river. "Something sacred has been broken," another added, her words hanging in the still, hot air. A sense of unease settled upon them all. They knew they had to find the source of the goddess's displeasure, but they didn't know where to begin. The traditions were old, and perhaps some had been forgotten. That very night, as the village slept under a blanket of stars, Adaze had a dream. It was more vivid than any she had ever experienced. In her dream, she stood by the riverbank, but the water flowed not with water, but with liquid moonlight. From these ethereal depths rose a woman of breathtaking beauty. Her hair was a cascade of flowing water, and a crown of pure moonlight rested upon her head. Her eyes held the wisdom of ages, and her voice, when she spoke, was as calm as the deepest part of the river, yet heavy with a profound sorrow. "Your people have forgotten respect," the goddess said, her voice echoing not in Adi's ears, but in her soul. "The river was wounded, a promise was broken, and its pain now flows in my currents." Adaze felt a tremor of fear and awe run through her. The goddess's sadness was a tangible thing, a weight upon her heart. She wanted to ask what had happened, how they could make it right, but before she could form the words, the vision began to fade. Adaze awoke with a start, her heart pounding in her chest. The dream lingered, the goddess's sorrowful eyes burned into her memory. She was trembling, but beneath the fear was a spark of unwavering determination. She knew what she had to do, as the first rays of dawn painted the sky in hues of orange and pink. She rose from her mat, dressed quickly, and made her way to the Nuku Aqua tree, where the elders were already gathering again. She stood before them, a small figure filled with a conviction that belied her years. With a clear and steady voice, she told them of her dream. She described the goddess's watery hair, her moonlit crown, and the deep sorrow in her voice. Some of the elders exchanged skeptical glances. A child's dream. Could they truly base the fate of their village on such a thing? But the oldest woman in the village, a matriarch whose eyes had seen more than 100 rainy seasons, nodded slowly. She looked at Adaze, her gaze piercing and wise. The spirits often choose the purest hearts as their messengers, she said, her voice raspy with age. The goddess has chosen the child. Her words silenced the doubters. With the elders' blessing, Adaze prepared for her journey to the river. She was given a clean clay pot, a bolt of pure white cloth, and a handful of kola nut offerings of peace and respect. With these sacred items in hand, Adaze walked alone to the riverbank. The air was unnervingly still. The water, once so lively, barely moved. It lay there, wounded and silent. She knelt at the water's edge, placing the offerings gently on the dry, cracked earth. She closed her eyes and spoke softly, her voice carrying across the silent water. "Great Mother of Miri Yugo," she began, her words a humble plea, "forgive us. We have wronged you, but we did not know how. Please, show me how to heal what is broken, how to restore your grace." For a moment there was only silence. Then the surface of the river stirred. A small ripple spread from the center, then another and another. A gentle voice, the same one from her dream, seemed to rise from the depths, whispering on the wind. "Someone cut the sacred Iroko tree that stood guard at my source," the goddess explained. "Its lifeblood, its sacred sap, has bled into my waters and poisoned them. Cleanse the river of this wound and teach your people remembrance. Teach them to never again forget the pact between the land and its children." The voice faded, and the river became still once more. But now Adaze knew the truth. She hurried back to the village, her heart no longer heavy with uncertainty, but filled with purpose. She led the elders and all the able-bodied villagers upstream, following the river's path until they found it. A giant raw stump where a majestic Iroko tree had once stood. Its fallen trunk lay nearby, a tragic monument to a forgotten promise. A collective gasp went through the crowd. They understood now. The Iroko was as sacred as the river itself. Guilt and resolve washed over the people. Under Adi's guidance, they worked together. They removed the fallen tree piece by piece, their movements reverent and careful. They offered prayers of forgiveness, their voices rising and falling in solemn chorus. They promised aloud to protect the land, to honor every tree, every stream, every living thing. As a final act of apology and reconciliation, they brought out calabashes of palm wine. They sang the ancient songs, the ones their grandparents had sung, songs of the earth and the water. They poured the sweet wine onto the soil around the stump, a libation to soothe the wounded earth and appease the goddess. That very evening, as if in direct response, the sky darkened, thick grey clouds gathered overhead, and a gentle rain began to fall. It was a cleansing rain. It washed the dust from the leaves and seeped into the thirsty earth. The river began to swell, its currents growing stronger, its voice returning. Within days, the fish returned, darting through the now clear, deep water. The crops in the fields perked up, their leaves turning a vibrant, healthy green. Life had returned to Miri Yugo and to the village. From that day forward, the people never forgot their lesson. They honored the river not just with whispers and quiet footsteps, but with joyful festivals of gratitude and constant care. And Adaze, the young girl with the brave heart, was remembered for generations. Not as a fierce warrior or a powerful queen, but as the brave girl who listened when others couldn't hear, who spoke with respect when others were silent, and who, with her simple courage, saved her people. And the river Miri Yugo flowed in peace and abundance once more. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please like, share, and subscribe for more tales from around the world.